Hello everyone, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, Jai Mata Di. Welcome back to our Merchant Navy Decoded Jobs channel and today's date is 25th February 2025. यार आज जानते हैं कि लेटेस्ट जॉब ओपनिंग्स क्या क्या हैं for every rank in Merchant Navy. So watch this video till end and apply by today only. So there is an opening. So rating से start करते हैं. There is an opening in Run Ship Manager for able seamen for their Panamax bulk carrier. Minimum 1 year of contract experiences mandatory as a able seaman. Joining date will be our March 2025 and location will be from Bangladesh. Run Ship Management required. They required AB. They required OS for the same ship. They required minimum 1 contract experience as an ordinary seaman, and joining date will be soon, means 10th March 2025. Location will be from Bangladesh. Williamson Ship Management required fitter for their bulk carrier vessel. US 7D visa is mandatory over here. Joining will be urgent. So hot job opening here for fitters. Share this video with your fitter friends so he will grab this opportunity. Then Soar India Shipping Service Private Limited required AB and oiler for their mid-range tanker vessel. Experience is mid-range tanker in must over here. V ships, ledgers, Valeria ships required OS for their passenger ships. So there is an opening for OS over here. Share your CV. There is an opening in cruise ships. Then Keniva Shipping Private Limited required able seaman for their FG tanker vessel. Must have tanker background. They required experience as a able seaman on tanker vessels. Then Keniva Ship Management Shipping Private Limited required oiler for their FG tanker vessel. Must have a tanker background experience. Then MOL required Boshan able seaman OS for their bulk carrier, for their container vessel, pure car carrier vessel, LPG carrier and LNG carrier vessel. Experience is mandatory on the similar type of vessel for applying this type of ship. Applying here. Then MOL required engine fitter, oiler and wiper for their same as for deck rating, as for engine rating, same bulk, container, pure car carrier, LPG carrier, LNG carrier, required preferable with watch keeping certificate. So they required watch keeping certificate with the experience. Then MOL Maritime required chief cook, second cook and messman for their similar type of vessel, same as for engine rating, deck rating for the Gallic people also. Then Anglo-Eastern Sea Management required able body seamen for their oil and chemical and gas carrier CTPT vessel, and they required oilers. So these are the job openings for rating today. For sharing your CV, you need to follow us on WhatsApp for everyday latest updates कि आपके लिए क्या क्या openings है. For OSP, there are lots of people were asking. So there is an opening in cruise ships, there is an opening in MOL for every type of ship. So share your CV by today only. And if you have not followed us on WhatsApp, so just go through your WhatsApp, follow us by today only. Merchant Navy job dates. Let's move over to our next job opening for Master. For Master, today's job opening is there in Blue Fortune Ship Management. They required for their oil tanker experience. Candidate is required over here. Joining date will be very soon. MOL Maritime required master for their LNG and LPG gas carrier ships. Experience is mandatory over here on the similar type of vessel. AZ Maritime required master for their feeder container vessels. So there is an opening for you here in gas carrier, in oil tanker as well as in container vessels. So these are the job openings for today's date. For masters, share your CV by today only and please let them know you got to know from Merchant Navy Decoded Jobs. Let's move over to our next job opening for chief officer. For chief officer, there is an opening in Sea Scout Global Private Limited. They required chief officer for their LPG carrier. Rank experience on the same type of vessel is mandatory over here. Joining date will be very soon. AZ Maritime required chief officer for their feeder container vessel. Expense is mandatory over here. MOL Maritime required chief officer for their dry carriers, dry ships like pure car carrier, container ships, and they required for their bulk carrier. Required expense is mandatory over here in dry ships like pure car carrier. If you would like to apply for PCC, so you must have PCC experience, and if you would like to apply for container vessels, so there is a requirement for same it is. Then MOL required chief officer for their gas carriers. Then Columbia Ora Ship Management required chief mate DPO for their ASTS DP2 vessel. Experience is 12 to 18 months of rank experience required over here. ABB Ship Management required chief officer for their tugboat. They required NCB chief officer. So these are the job openings today for chief officers. Let's move ahead with our second officer's job opening. What are the job opening today? Let's see. Sea Scout Global Private Limited required second officer for their bulk carrier. Rank experience on the similar type of vessel is mandatory over here. Sea Scout required chief officer. Sea Scout required second officer also. AZ Maritime required second officer for their feeder container ships. Keniva Ship Management Shipping Private Limited required second officer for their coastal mini tanker. If you have NCV COC, so there is an opening for you. Advanced oil DC is required over here. Keniva Shipping required second officer for their FG tanker vessel also. So there is an opening in NCV vessel. There is an opening in FG tanker vessel. Indian FG COC is required over here with experience on tanker backgrounds. Then MOL Maritime required second officer. MOL required master ratings chief officer. Now second officer for second officer there is an opening in LPG and LNG carriers. For MOL Maritime expenses mandatory over here. AZ Maritime required second officer for their feeder container vessel. Experience also they required. So these are the job openings for second officer today. Let's move over to our next job opening for third officer, and let's see there is an opening for third mate with there is an opening for fresher or not. So IMS ship management required third officer for their oil and chemical tanker. Experience is mandatory, means 6 months of experience they required over here. In Swar India Shipping Private Limited required third officer for their MR tanker vessel. MR tanker experience is must over here. They have written ABB Ship Management required third officer for their crude oil tanker, 66,990 tons of GRT ship it is. They required experience on similar type of vessel if you have done sailing on this type of ship. So there is an opening for you over here. Sea Scout Global Private Limited required third officer for their bulk carrier, gear bulk carrier it is, and they required experience on the similar type of vessel as a third officer. Joining date will be very soon. Sea Scout Global again required for their LPG carrier also. Rank experience is mandatory on the similar type of vessel. Joining date will be very soon. MOL Maritime required third officer for their dry ships, for their bulk carrier, for their pure car carrier ships, for their container ships. They required experience on the similar type of vessel as a third officer. AZ Maritime required for their feeder container vessel, and expense is mandatory over here. ABB Ship Management required third officer for their chemical oil product tanker ships. GRT will be 30,006. Required on the expense is mandatory on the similar type of vessel. So these are the job opening for third officer today. Let's move over to our next job opening for engine side. So for chief engineers, let's see. For chief engineers, there is an opening in Swar India Shipping Private Limited for their mid-range tanker vessel. Mid-range tanker expense is mandatory as a chief engineer. Shagan. Then MOL Maritime required chief engineer for their LPG and LNG carrier ships. So these are the job openings for chief engineer today. One is there in MR tanker and another in LPG or LNG carrier ships. So share your CV by today itself. For sharing your CV, what you have to do? You need to go through our WhatsApp channel, Merchant Navy Decoded Jobs. And if you have not subscribed yet our channel, subscribe us by today only and comment it below what are the job opening you required. So let's move over to our next job opening for second engineer. For second engineers, there is an opening in Blue Fortune Ship Management for their oil tanker. Experienced candidate is required over here. Joining date will be very soon. Swar India Shipping Service Private Limited required second engineer for their MR tanker vessel. MR tanker expenses must over here for sharing your CV. Naz Maritime required second engineer for their Handymax bulk carrier. Joining date will be very soon, means before February and so today is 25, by before 28 there is an opening. 4 to 8 month of rank expenses is mandatory over here. Indian COC they are asking. Then AZ Maritime Private Limited required second engineer for their feeder container vessel. Expense is not mandatory over here. So share your CV by today only if you are applying after your MU class 2. There is an opening here for you. MOL Maritime required first assistant engineer for their dry ships, for their PCC carrier, means pure car carrier ship. Then they required for bulk carriers, they required for their container ships. Then MOL again required second engineer for their LPG carrier ships, LNG carrier ships. So but they required experience on the similar type of vessel. Then MOL required, then ABB Ship Management required second engineer for their chemical oil product tanker ships. GRT will be 30,000 required on, so expenses required on similar type of vessel. So these are the job openings for second engineer today. Let's move over to our next job opening for third engineers. For third engineers, there is an opening in Swar India Shipping Service Private Limited for their MR tanker. They required MR tanker expenses must over here. Sea Scout Global Private Limited required third officer for their LPG carrier ships. Rank expenses mandatory on the similar type of vessel. Kiniva Shipping Private Limited required third engineer for their coastal mini tanker vessel. Indian NCB COC is mandatory over here. So if you have Indian NCB COC, so apply by here, and they required advanced oil DCE also. Then MOL tanker required second assistant engineer, means third engineer for their dry ships. Expenses mandatory over here. Experience is also required over here. MOL tanker required second assistant engineer, means third engineer for their LPG or LNG carrier ships. Required motor, steam or dual license. So if you have sailed on this type of ships, so share your CV by today only. Let's move over to our next job opening for fourth engineers, and let's see for there is an opening for fresher or not. For fourth engineers, there is an opening in Blue Fortune Ship Management for their oil tanker ships. Experienced candidate is required over here. Swar India Shipping Private Limited required fourth engineer for their mid-range tanker vessel. If you have MR tanker vessel experience, so share your CV by today only. Sea Scout Global Private Limited required fourth engineer for their LPG carrier ships. Rank experience on the similar type of vessel is mandatory over here. Joining will be very soon. Urgent joining here, means hot job opening here. MOL Maritime required third assistant engineer for their dry carrier ships, means for their container, pure car carrier or bulk carrier ships. Experience they have required, mention here. AZ Maritime required fourth engineer for their feeder container vessel. Experience is also mandatory over here. So these are the job openings for fourth engineers today. That's all for today. We'll meet you in the next video, next such updates. And if you have not subscribed yet, subscribe us by today. Follow us on WhatsApp, Merchant Navy job dates for everyday job dates. For getting everyday job dates. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, Jai Mata Di. We'll meet you in the next video by tomorrow with next such updates.